You are listening to Package Your Genius, a conversation designed to give you clarity on your calling and serve as a catalyst for your career. I'm your host, Amanda Miller Littlejohn. So I'm back. I am back from California. I'm back in Washington, D.C. And I am in my standard podcast recording spot, ready to drop a nugget or two with you. And thank you everyone who's been shouting me out on social media, letting me know you're following the challenge. Hello to new listeners who may have found Package Your Genius because of one of those posts. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And then thank you to everyone who has just been supporting and encouraging me through the death of my computer and all the other challenges that have cropped up, which in the grand scheme of things are not really that big of a deal because I am here. And today I have a slightly, technical and nerdy topic that I want to talk about because I don't think people consider this when they are creating content and trying to build their personal brand. So, just to kind of start with the benefits of what I'm about to share with you and why you should do it. I just got back from California where I was delivering 2 talks on personal branding at a women's leadership summit hosted by Deckers Outdoor Corporation. They are the owners of a few different apparel brands, Teva, Hoka, Uggs, so the Ugg boots that you love, and a few others. And they found me online, reached out to me to see if I would be available to deliver some talks to their women. And we were in talks a few months back. And this past week was finally the opportunity to share with their group. And so it was an amazing experience just being in Santa Barbara. I love it there. It's beautiful. The people of Deckers were amazing. The talk was good. I mean, just the whole experience was A+. And, when I reflect on how experiences like that have happened for me, it always traces back to my personal brand, to the content I've shared, to the record that I am making online. And that is what I want to ask you and figure out if you are doing what you need to be doing to make a record online so that when people are looking for a person who does what you do, you are showing up in those searches. You are being referred by other members of our community. People are talking about you, saying your name, and if nothing else, the internet is producing you as a strong search result in that category. And so I was talking to a friend earlier about a podcast, and she participates in a podcast that she really likes, but it's not focused on what she does professionally. It is more focused on her passions and, things that she does in her personal life, and kind of it's a give back philanthropy type thing. I think she sits on the board of this organization and she participates in the podcast that way. But she is always sharing nuggets on Instagram in her stories. And, I asked her why had she not considered doing her own podcast that's more focused on her expertise, but also the things that she cares about. And she had not even considered that. And so you may have heard me say before that a part of packaging your genius is a way to scale your ideas, right? So one of the things that frustrates me the most about people who are so smart and have so much great stuff to share is that the only people who are really getting the benefit of that genius are the people who they are coaching one-on-one, the people who may be in the room when they're delivering a talk. And that is scaling to some degree, right? Like speaking to a group of people from a stage is certainly better than just having a one-on-one conversation with someone. And so that is a level of scaling. Excuse me, sorry. But what I am looking for when I talk about scaling is how are you creating content that essentially creates a hyperlink, right? Like that is my goal for everything that I do. If I'm investing time and energy to work hard to deliver my genius, at the end of that, I want a hyperlink that I can share with someone else. And so while sharing on Instagram, sharing in your stories is certainly scaling your ideas from just talking to one person or sending a DM to one person, right? So going from that one-on-one conversation to at least a group of people heard what you said. At the end of those Instagram stories, there's no link that you can share for people to be able to watch and listen to this later. And so for me, I do like stories. They're fun to kind of share a peek into my life, which I feel like isn't really that exciting. So sometimes I struggle with that, honestly. But when it comes to sharing information like this and insights and things I've thought of and things that have occurred to me, I'm more interested in writing something that can live on my website or recording a podcast that can live on iTunes or on my website or wherever, so that 3 years from now, if I have a conversation with someone and it clicks immediately for me that the problem is, yes, you're talking a lot, you're sharing your genius ideas, but you're not creating hyperlinks so that you can share it with other people. I can say, on episode 92 of my podcast, I talked about this very thing. Let me grab that link for you and shoot it over. And I don't think we think that way. And to be honest with you, it has been the key to my, I think, longevity, because in the beginning when I was creating content and writing a blog, I was building this library of validation, like this library of content that really showcased my ideas and kind of backed me up. So if you heard my name, you can Google me and then find all these things I've said and written. And it is like a third party validator almost, right? It's like, oh, okay, she has been thinking and talking about this for a while. This isn't just something she came up with yesterday. And so it started with the blog. But now the podcast, I mean, we're closing in on 100 episodes. Like, I just realized that in doing this challenge, I will reach 100 episodes of Package Your Genius. And so just to be able to refer back over 100 conversations to, pick and choose resources and lessons that could potentially help people in the future is just really powerful. And for people who may just be discovering you or your content. So for me, if you're new to my podcast, you have almost 100 episodes to get acquainted with me, to learn from me, and to essentially be coached by me without us ever even meeting. And so when you think about the opportunity that exists to cultivate new relationships and cultivate new business for yourself, if that's your goal, as you create content, yes, do the ethereal, ephemeral, disappearing content, the Snapchats, the IG stories for fun. But when you really share your genius, think about how you can take your Instagram stories and turn those into a video that you could put on YouTube or a podcast that you could put up on iTunes. Something that creates a file that you can turn into a hyperlink that you can share. I know that's super nerdy, but it's real. And what ends up happening too is every time I create a new podcast episode, guys, I have a chance to embed keywords. I have a chance to add to my searchability on the web. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have 1 million followers on Instagram. It's funny, I literally just got to spend a little bit of time when I went out to California with a childhood friend, Koya Webb. We grew up together in Tennessee. We spent summers together because her grandmother attended my church and she would spend summers with her grandmothers. But anyway, she actually does have 1 million followers on Instagram, and she has a new book out, by the way, so check that out. It's called Let Your Fears Make You Fierce, and it was published by Hay House and came out earlier this week. But Koya has 1 million followers on Instagram, so if she drops a nugget on Instagram, or she says, hey, I have, new spots opening up for my yoga teacher training, I've only got 5 spots, I'm sure those would be gone within seconds because she has such a huge following, right? And even she's really great about creating content and creating hyperlinks. Like, she has a podcast too, she has a book now, and she creates a ton of content. But for someone like me or you who may not have 1 million followers or even 100,000 followers, it becomes critically important for us to be mindful of the content we're creating and the searchability we're creating with that content. So for me, I don't have 1 million followers, but I have $1 million SEO. Let me just tell you that right now, because I've been creating content for so long. And I make sure that whenever I create something or have something good to say, a hyperlink is being generated. Keywords are, at least potentially being embedded. I don't always do a great job of it. And then when I do media, I try to get them to link back to one of my websites because that helps to increase your searchability as well. So it's not the sexiest thing to think about. It's one of the things I teach in Package Your Genius Academy because it's been something that's been very helpful for me in terms of being visible, but it's one of those stealth ways that you make yourself visible. And so if you are looking to be, found in search so that corporations can fly you out and pay you thousands of dollars to deliver a couple hours worth of content, which I gotta say, it's not a bad deal. You've got to put in that legwork, and you may be giving your best gems away on platforms that aren't serving your searchability and your SEO. So just food for thought. I love that this actual episode will become a hyperlink, and I will add some keywords in there so that maybe more people can find the podcast and join me on this journey. So I would love for you to say hi on Instagram or Twitter and to share the challenge. If you're enjoying the challenge, share it on Instagram. That's how new people find these podcasts. That's one of the ways anyway, in addition to SEO, because I am definitely ranking for personal branding podcasts on iTunes as well, or Apple Podcasts. My bad. But if you're enjoying this challenge, please share with a friend, share on your social networks. I truly appreciate it. You've been hearing me talk a lot about maximum exposure and all of the amazing media hits we are landing in the group. We have a television segment coming up on Monday in Milwaukee. We've had coverage in the Washington Post, in Fast Company, as well as ABC, WJLA here in Washington, D.C. A couple of television segments there too. If you are interested in figuring out how to brainstorm new story ideas for yourself so you can get visibility that way, and that's a part of your strategy for this year for building your brand and getting in front of perhaps more corporate clients or even more individual clients that may want to enroll in your coaching programs or hire you to speak, I invite you to apply for maximum exposure so that you can join us in July. So again, we are just getting started, but those hits keep coming in, and we're so excited. I'm so excited to support a group of emerging thought leaders to build their personal brands by landing media exposure. My PR coaching team is amazing, and we've really found our groove and what seems to be working well in terms of landing those media opportunities for people who have a personal brand that needs more exposure. So this is not for everyone. It is for people who are doing the work that they want to be doing already. So it's not for you if you're trying to figure out what you want to do. But if you have a book, if you have a coaching business, if you're consulting, if you're a speaker and you already have nailed down your topic of expertise and you know exactly what it is that you share and the results that you get with your customers or clients, but you just want to get some more media exposure to just blow that out of the water, then I invite you to apply to join us. The applications can be found on packageyourgeniusacademy.com/exposure. Thanks for listening, and I would love to hear your questions about searchability. If you have any of those or any other questions about building a personal brand, I'm always open. Tag me on IG, I'm at packageyourgenius, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.